Most people experience nightmares occasionally, while others have them more frequently.
Oh, licensed psychologist Dr. Michelle Carcel joining us now to explain why some people are a little more prone to those scary dreams. Doctor, good morning.
Good morning. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween to
Yes.
you, too. So, before we get really delving into this topic, can a scary movie, if you watch something scary,
Oh, absolutely.
actually
Yes.
cause that?
Yes.
I'm asking the doctor.
And I'm
I
not
know.
even a doctor.
It's just the lead into the good doctor.
Okay.
But that really does influence people, right? If you
Yes.
see scary stuff.
Definitely. And we actually see that more with children. So here's the good news.
Yeah.
When we're children, we don't have a lot of rational thought to go into things. So
Sure.
a lot of things do influence and scare us. But as we get older, nightmares tend to dissipate. So it's usually when we're children, younger adults.
Yeah.
And also women tend to have a little bit more frequency in nightmares than
Really?
men. Yeah. So there's a
Charlie,
gender difference as
do you know
well.
that?
Yes, I don't usually dream, but when I do dream, it's been when I'm pregnant. That's like my mind is woo. And then, just a few days ago, I had a really, really bad nightmare. And I usually don't dream. I wonder what triggered it. Is there something that things like happen during the day? Is it just your brain doing its thing?
So yeah, a lot of times there's different types of nightmares. So we have what we call idiopathic nightmares. Those are subjective. A lot of times they don't make sense or there's not anything necessarily that correlates with them. But it's usually stress related or sleep disturbance.
well, there you
so
go.
if you've got stress going on and you're not handling it during the conscious day, it's going to show up in your night.
I heard, and I read once, that we dream almost every night. But most of us just don't remember those dreams. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Wow.
And actually only about 2.5 to 10% of the population report remembering nightmares or having frequent nightmares in the general population. Where it becomes more frequent are with people who have trauma in their history. That's when we see a little bit more of that
Yeah, I
nightmare
was going to
occurring.
ask you about the relationship that people who have trauma and their nightmares and even their normal dreams, they may not be a horrific nightmare, but their dreams are about the trauma. How does all that come together?
Exactly. So the takeaway from all of this is if we haven't dealt with things in our life, if
Yeah.
we're kind of going on autopilot, I'm sure all of you we can all appreciate being on autopilot, going home, doing the cooking, dealing with the boss, doing every day-to-day stuff, but you don't deal with the stuff that's happened. The stuff, whether it could be a fight with a coworker, things that are lighter, that's where it leads to those, frequent dreams or bad nightmares every once in a while. But with trauma, it's very different. You're actually dealing with the recurrence of the trauma in your dream. It's really the brain's way of dealing with stuff that we
Yeah.
haven't dealt with in conscious
Because maybe
time.
in real life there hasn't been closure or you haven't addressed it. And does that then turn, is that with PTSD? Sometimes a lot of soldiers have those nightmares that are really just violent nightmares and frightening. Is there a correlation there?
Yes, there is. So PTSD itself as a diagnosis, nightmares is part of the symptomology of
Right,
PTSD.
right.
So up to 90% of people who have PTSD report having nightmares
Oh,
in a
gosh.
semi-frequent time. Yeah.
Heather was talking to me the other day that her little guy has been having a lot of dreams. I have 4 kids, so the likelihood of one of them dreaming something is very high. What is it with the kiddos that they dream so much at night, and especially bad dreams?
Right. So what we find is the rational brain is not fully developed in children yet. So as we age, we make sense of things differently than when we were kids. So when we see a scary movie, for example, that can prompt a whole lot of stuff. You're seeing something and you think, oh my gosh, ghosts could be real, monsters could be real. Whereas as we age and we get a little older, we're able to decipher that and know the truth. So kiddos do have,
Yeah, that
unfortunately,
makes
more of
sense.
that nightmare now.
Is there anything people can do to avoid having a nightmare? Or is that just your
Yeah,
brain's
good
doing
question.
your brain's just doing what it's gonna do? You can't really like my wife has this theory where if we're watching a scary like a zombie show like that Walking Dead show, you don't want to go to bed right after watching the zombies.
I completely agree with
They're like,
her.
let's watch a half-hour sitcom.
Right.
I don't think that works. You're still dreaming about zombies if you're going to dream about zombies.
Yeah.
Is there anything we can do to kind of guide our brain into dreaming a certain way?
There are certainly different things that you can do. So, but I will say this, If you're sensitive, if you're emotionally sensitive,
Oh.
you're gonna be more prone to having some nightmares and being a little bit
I
more
am
in that
emotionally
fear-based.
very sensitive,
Yeah.
Shali, as you
So
know.
if you're emotionally sensitive, Raul, unfortunately, you might get one of those nightmares. So even if you watch a comedy after, what's
It's not
gonna
gonna work.
stick? Yeah.
Oh, my
but
God.
we do have treatment for this. So I will say
Oh.
this: if you have frequent nightmares,
Yeah.
if something's going on,
Ooh, I like
you
this
want
topic.
to address it.
Oh, I love this
You don't
topic.
want to just let it slide because it can be very, very harmful if you're continuing to recur a nightmare over and over again.
We gotta talk more about dreams and what stuff means. We did that like years ago, but I want to go back to that.
Yeah, it can
Well,
be
like when
fun.
you're in your bed sleeping and you're a kid, and suddenly you start floating and you're flying through your house out of the front door. That's
Why
a
were
thing.
you floating? Where were you going?
I don't know.
Oh, see, that's a little bit of analysis there.
Dr. Michelle, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Fascinating.
Yes, good stuff.
I'll tell you about it later.